Hi, welcome to food safety class. This general food safety class was designed for all office staff, external affairs, HR, accounting, IT, receptionist, program services, and project preserve team. My name is N.K. Kim, Senior Director of Food Manufacturing and Food Safety Officer. With invite to food safety training, you should have received one PDF file and a link to SurveyMonkey. The PDF file is the exact same copy of the PowerPoint slides that I will use in this class, and the SurveyMonkey is the quiz that you need to take after taking this food safety class. In this general food safety training, I'll cover several topics, but before we go into topics, I'll present some of the important data that shows food safety matters for the health of general public. And after we talk about safety importance, we'll cover 8 different topics. Here are the topics. 1, allergen. 2, hand washing and gloves. 3, food defense. 4, HACCP. 5, temperature. 6, pest control. 7, chemicals. 8, receiving and inspection procedures. It could be a handful, but I'll try to cover as quickly and simply possible in a fun and exciting way. Let me ask you a question. Why do you think food safety is important to your day-to-day operation? Is that because the Feeding America asks us to be careful handling food? Or is it because Tennessee Department of Agriculture inspects our operation? Well, that could be the reason, but more importantly, it is important to know the food we're handling can actually hurt people, and sometimes it even kills people. According to federal government agencies such as CDC, they post out how many people became ill from food they're taking in their daily life. So over a year, 76 million people become sick from food. From that 76 million, about 325,000 people go to hospitals, and 5,000 people don't make out of hospitals. Because of the medical costs, lawsuits, legal fees, consumers are paying $23 billion every year. And this is the daunting number, but they are just numbers from the United States. One country, 1 year. And these are 4 known faces of serial killers, a group of organisms. The first is bacteria. Second group is called virus. Third group is called parasites. The last group is fungi. I'm sure you know some of the names of bacteria commonly found in food. Salmonella, Listeria, E. coli, Clostridium botulinum. These are some of the names of bacteria that make people sick and even kill. And viruses, you probably heard names like norovirus, hepatitis A and E, and rotavirus. They're commonly found in food, spread around food, and it can get consumed into consumer's mouth. Parasites are commonly found in undercooked fish, undercooked crabs, and sometimes undercooked meat, and raw water plants commonly used for vegetables. They could be source of the parasites. And fungi are yeast and mold that we are familiar with. So these 4 groups of organisms, bacteria, virus, parasites, and fungi, they're the ones who cause the problem over 90% of the entire foodborne illness cases in the United States. And I forgot to mention, while you're passing through these PowerPoint slides, whenever you see the red color fonts, red color words and phrases, they're the ones who will show up on the quiz. So please pay extra attention to it. Let me discuss some of the well-known and quite large-sized foodborne illnesses happened in the past. You probably heard the company called PCA. It's a Peanut Corporate America out of Georgia. Salmonella was found in peanut product one of their peanut butter products, and it caused an outbreak in 2008 and 2009. And that product made over 100 people sick and eventually killed 9 people. The former peanut company executive was sentenced to 28 years in prison. And this was the stiffest punishment ever handed out to food producer because of the food outbreak. Example I want to discuss is the Ballpark brand hot dog, which was made by Sara Lee. In 1998 and 1999, Sara Lee Ballpark hot dogs caused a listeria outbreak, and it was found to kill 15 people. And this foodborne illness make the company recall the meat product. Up to 15 million pounds of meat had to be recalled. And this was one of the largest meat recalls in the history of the United States. And the cost of doing all this cleanup work was $4.4 million. The last case I would like to discuss is the E. coli outbreak that happened in the past. I want to bring up Jack in the Box case back in 1993. In the middle of a promotion of a new product called Monster Burger, it was using large-size hamburger patty, and they didn't do a very good job of cooking the beef patty thoroughly. And this outbreak caused over 100 people sick, and 4 people were killed because of this incident. E. coli is commonly existing in many different places, including our own intestine. But certain type of E. coli, specifically called O157H7, was the strand of E. coli that caused this particular outbreak. As I mentioned earlier, about 76 million people get sick, and 325,000 people go to hospital, and about 5,000 people don't make it out of the hospital. And these instances are happening out there in the real time. And when this kind of bad instance happened, a lot of bad things happen to your organization. Your customers don't want to hear this type of news about your organization, and it'll eventually impact your sales and your revenue. And your company will be mentioned in the wrong way in the media, press, internet, everywhere, fast communication. And employee morale will go down, and you need to go to the courthouse, work with lawyers, all the legal fees involved in it. It's just really a difficult thing to handle. So while you and I are working in this organization, we don't want any of this happen during our time. And government agencies understand the importance of food safety management. So they have different organizations in the branches, in departments, different functions under government. FDA handles processed food. USDA handles meat and poultry, it's red color. School meals, child nutrition. Local health department handle retail and food service marketplaces. The state government, specifically in Tennessee, Department of Agriculture, they check the warehouses. AIB is a third-party inspection agency designated by Feeding America. And if you look at your warehouse, and this particular one is the picture taken at the Metro Center, there are different areas in your warehouse, and those areas are under the subjection of the safety inspections by different government agencies. So your main warehouse, where the food materials are stored, they're subject to AIV audit, Tennessee Department of Agriculture, and FDA audit. And for a particular case of cook chill, it's just in the Metro Center warehouse. The USDA, FDA can come into cook chill and inspect the food safety. So cook chill is the only place that is being audited by USDA in all 3 warehouse locations under Second Harvest Food Bank. And of course, Feeding America can visit us. We're more than welcome of any of Feeding America people come in any locations. And all the food safety policies and procedures we have as a system of food safety management, 3 locations: the main warehouse in Metro Center, Smyrna, and Western Branch Camden warehouses are subject to inspections of AIB, Tennessee Department of Agriculture, FDA, and Feeding America. There are 3 different types of possible contaminations. The materials get contaminated into food. First is biological, second is physical, third is chemical. Biological is basically is the major component of contamination. As we mentioned earlier, bacteria, viruses, parasites, and fungi, these are all biological materials be contaminated from dirty food to clean food. And physical contaminations are like dropping a hard material added into food, such as earrings, bracelets, or metal chips, wood chips added into food and can cut somebody's gum or break someone's tooth. And chemical contamination happens when chemicals are stored in the wrong way. Open containers stored over the top of food, and something happens to the chemical container, then it leaks into food and it can cause harm to a consumer. And that's chemical contamination. So 3 ways of contamination. They are marked in red color. So keep in mind, we'll continue using these words: biological, physical, and chemical contaminations. So let's put these biological, physical, and chemical contaminations into action. And the list of the items on the slide, these are the actions you're taking every day in your warehouse operation. Microbial control program, temperature control, maintenance, HACCP, IPM, glass control, chemical control, allergen control, receiving check, cleaning of your warehouse, food defense, customer complaint handling, recall, traceability, premise, building, structure, and maintenance. These are the items called prerequisite under AIB definition. These are the programs that we have in place since 2015, the core of entire food safety management programs we have in our operations. So what matters is, why are we doing this? Because we want to stop the possible contaminations. So if you look at the list of these actions that we're taking, they are grouped into different contamination possibilities. So we have learned biological contaminations, physical contaminations, and chemical contaminations, and that's why we're having these programs here. For example, let me put this red pencil. All these actions that we're taking in the yellow background, these are countermeasures of the possibility of biological contaminations. And the second group here, the reason why we're doing it is because it is a possibility it can cause physical contaminations in the food. And we have chemical control program and allergen control program, and that is our countermeasure to stop possible chemical contaminations into food. On the left, a list of responsibilities, and on the right, team members who are delivering the responsibilities. I am the food safety officer in charge of the entire program. Mike and warehouse managers make sure the temperature in different storage rooms are at the right range. Rick and Louis take care of maintenance of the building, equipment, and also our trucks. Olik is our third-party company providing services for pest control program. Ryan is Deputy Food Safety Officer in charge of maintenance and many other areas. Patty is in charge of allergen control program. Ryan and Louis in charge of temperature of the product receiving and also following other guidelines. Ryan and Eli make sure the warehouse is clean, also warehouse managers, and the volunteer service area. Food defense is done by Tracy. Tracy is in charge of 2 different programs. First, food defense, second, customer complaint handling. Patty and Emily, Project Preserve, they are in charge of recall and traceability. It's the red color information. Ryan is in charge of the building structures following AIB guidelines. And Food Safety Committee is doing self-inspections on a regular basis. Karen is in charge of food safety training, and Brad and Drew make sure the products donated to us, they are safe and sound. So as a wrap-up of introduction, I want to point out three different things. Number one, there are 5,000 people being killed from food poisoning every year in the United States. Number two, there are 4 groups of serial killers causing food poisoning. The first group is bacteria, second is virus, third is parasite, and the last one is fungi. And third point that I want to bring up as a wrap-up is there are 3 different modes of contaminations in food supply system. The first is biological contamination, second is physical contamination, and the last one is the chemical contamination. Now, let's jump on to 8 topics. The first one is allergen. There are 8 different items in the allergen list. This is called Big 8, defined by USDA. Big 8 because there are 8 items. The first is milk, egg, soy, and tofu. Tofu is made out of soy. Fish, tree nuts, ground nuts, hard shell sea creatures such as shrimp or crab, and bread made out of wheat. The way I memorize this is make a sentence out of this. Mess was 2 seafoods and 2 nuts. MESW. Milk, egg, soy, wheat, and 2 different seafoods, the fish and crustaceans, and 2 nuts, tree nuts and ground nuts. That's how I memorize it. Easy to do it with an easy sentence. As of January 1st, 2023, one more allergen was added to the list. That was sesame. So it's not Big 8 anymore, it's Big 9 allergens. Okay, now let's think about how to stop the allergen issue from your food supply of receiving food, storage food, and shipping out to your customers. You need to break the bridge between allergen-containing food and non-allergen containing clean food. This is called preventing cross-contact. The word cross-contact is used instead of cross-contamination that we're familiar with is because this is not a contamination issue for majority of the population. Yeah, absolute majority of the people don't have sensitivity to allergen food, but only a small portion. So instead of calling this a contamination issue, it's called a cross-contact issue. So we need to prevent cross-contact between allergen and non-allergen. The key information here is we need to find a way to efficiently prevent cross-contact between food items. Number 2, hand washing. How and when to wash your hands. First of all, you remember how long you need to spend time to wash your hands. It's obviously 20 seconds, and this is about the length of singing happy birthday to you twice. And here's the procedure. Wash your hands in 6 different steps. The first is wet hands. Secondly, put the soap on and you scrub, rub, and wash for 15 to 20 seconds. Rinse, dry with dry paper, and put the sanitizer on. And this is the correct procedure. And here are some examples that you need to wash your hands. A quick question, is hand washing required when you touch your hair? Why or why not? What do you think? Yes, the answer is yes. You need to wash your hands after you touch your body part. In the picture, the lady is touching her hair. Your hair is clean to you, but not to other people. And it's not a clean food contact surface. So after you touch your body part, you need to wash your hands. These are some of the tips about using plastic gloves. First, use only single-use gloves and use it only once. Secondly, wash your hands before putting on gloves. Some people ask why need to wash your hands? It's going to be covered anyway. Or scientific studies found that you have to, when you put gloves on your hands, you need to touch. Your bare hand should touch the outside of the glove at least once, putting 2 gloves onto your hands. So you are touching the clean glove surface with dirty hands. So the answer is you need to wash your hands, dry it up, and put the sanitizer on, following the right hand washing procedure, and then put the plastic gloves on. Lastly, make sure your gloves fit your hands, not too big, not too small, and don't blow air into the gloves. And these are the common instructions for using hand gloves. What's wrong with this picture? Is blowing air into the gloves, which is not a good idea because your breath has the contaminants from air, such as bacteria and virus. You're blowing them into clean surface of the glove. It's just not a good idea. It's not recommended to do. The hand washing stations, hand washing sinks are for hand washing only. You should not do other things such as dumping dirty water into the sink or prepping food in them, and washing tools and equipments in hand washing station is absolutely no-no. Topic 3, food defense, which is adapted from old Bioterrorism Act from year 2002. There's a difference between food safety and food defense. Food safety program is to stop contaminations occurring by accidental, unintentional mistake, and insufficient effort. But the food defense is to stop intentional contamination. It is often involved with bioterrorism and massive destruction. From year 2001, when we had 911, we first realized that there are a group of people out there who are contemplating to do the mass killing in the society of the United States. So from that, we came up with an act, Bioterrorism Act, in the following year, 2002, and Department of Homeland Security came into force, and food facilities started to be registered under federal government. In 2016, during the Obama government, a renovation happened in the food safety law. It's called Food Safety Modernization Act from 2016. What do we do as an organization in terms of food defense? Well, we have two different SOPs about food defense. The first one is Second Harvest Policy of Food Defense. Second document is the Food Defense Plan, which describes there are a book of check sheets that we need to use for each facility that used for surveillance program. And 3 of us in the Food Safety Committee members, we go through the building and use the check sheets, make sure we're following all the requirements of this food defense plan under federal government. So in annual surveillance program, we check the security of the premise, make sure all the fences around the parking lot, there are no gaps and holes, and doors are lockable, and they are actually locked on a regular basis, such as every night. And control of the non-employee entrance, such as visitors, contractors, and volunteers. Make sure they follow the procedures going signing and signing out, and make sure the receiving procedure of the food material into our building, make sure there's no danger of the product coming inside our building. Okay, topic number 4, HACCP. Do you know what HACCP stands for? How about have another cup of coffee, please? Yeah, it stands for Hazard Analysis of Critical Control Points. What a long name, huh? HACCP is relatively new program for food safety control compared to other programs such as sanitation control procedures, good manufacturing practices that include personal hygiene, cleaning program, allergen control program, cross-contamination program, and food safety training programs, and so on and so forth. So you cannot have a good HACCP program without having these basic food safety control programs, such as sanitation and GMP. So when you hear some food company has a good HACCP program, then you can assume that that company has a good sanitation program and all the programs of GMP. In HACCP program, there are 7 different steps that you need to follow in order to complete your program. First, you need to be able to draw product flow chart from the spot where you receive the product coming into your facility and to the point that the finished product is leaving your facility. You should have a step-by-step flow chart. Secondly, you sit down and look at your flow chart and think about all the conditions of the product in each and every step and analyze the risk. Is there a risk in any of the steps of handling your product in your facility? Number 3, risk and hazard become CCP, which is a critical control point, if it is the critical point that is going to have a significant hazard to the general public when your food is consumed by your customers. Step 4, for those CCPs, you need to set up a control program, quality control, quality assurance for those CCPs. Step 5, you should design check sheets in order to verify the CCPs while the food is being handled in your program. Step 6, have an authority to approve the program, which means you bring your program to another industry expert. It could be university, it could be people who are accredited by government authorities. Get an okay from those people. Step 7, you roll out the program and have your supervisor sign the check sheets instead of just the operator fill out the check sheets and get going. So these are 7 steps of HACCP program. For warehouse operation, we have HACCP program set up for fish and seafood, and the chart shows the flow chart of canned fish and canned seafood. And basically, we receive the product into our facility, and then when we receive the product, we inspect it and make sure there's no leaking, no pest issues, and we put it into our storage area, and product waits there until we receive an order from agency, and we load it up and ship it out. So you sit down and look at the overall flow chart and look at every single step that we handle the product. Is there any critical control point, or is there a step that has a significant impact on food safety? The answer is no. We don't have any critical control points in the way we handle canned fish or canned seafood. So those 7 steps under HACCP, we do the step 1, we draw the flow chart, and step 2, we sit down and analyze the risk and hazard, if there's any critical control point that we need to set up to control because it has a significant hazard to general public. The answer is no. We don't see any critical control points because we receive packaged foods and we don't process anything. We don't open the package. We just ship it out as it came in. So there is no high risk point that we need to control. So the step 4, 5, 6, 7 basically we cross out and we stop the program right there. So in terms of HACCP training, seafood can is not a good example, and I picked another product just to clarify what the HACCP program should do. And I took an example of spaghetti sauce we make in food manufacturing department. What it is a little bit more complicated than canned seafood, obviously. So here we receive a tomato donated by FreshPoint, Cisco. They ship us fresh tomato and we inspect them and put them in our storage area. And there are also other ingredients other than tomato. So non-tomato ingredients are received in that particular area. It's basically black pepper, salt, Italian seasoning, olive oil. Those ingredients come in and inspected and weighed into storage until the cooking day. On the cooking day, we mix tomato and other seasoning ingredients into a kettle and mix the product while we're boiling it. And it should reach to certain temperature to develop good flavor and taste. But also, we're accomplishing the termination of a bacteria, virus, and other organisms might grow. Unwanted organisms grow inside the product, and by cooking it, heating it, you are killing all those germs. And we also check the pH of the product after we mix everything into the kettle, because if the pH is too high, then it provides a positive environment for bacteria to grow, and we want to manage pH below 4.6, which is the growth point of Listeria monocytogenes. So that's also CCP. The last CCP is after we cook the product, when the product is hot, we fill it up in a pouch and we seal the pouch, and the product is still hot inside the pouch. And we don't want to keep that product hot for a long time because some of the bacteria can break out from their spores, seeds, and start to grow inside the pouch. So we need to cool the product, hot product, down to chill temperature below 40 degrees. And the government requirement is it should be done within 6 hours, but we're cooling it down in about 30 minutes or so. So those are 3 CCPs. CCP1 is labeled B, which means biological contamination. We're trying to control the germs. And CCP2 is labeled uppercase C, which stands for chemical hazard, chemical contamination. And cooling temperature CCP3 is also labeled B because we're trying to control the germs grow back from warm temperature. Topic 5, temperature. We need to monitor and control the temperature of the product during receiving, storage, and shipping. Let me explain the term temperature danger zone. If you had taken any food safety training before, this is probably one of the most common topics that any food safety program would describe. Food temperature should be controlled from pickup from the donor or food bank to handoff to client. It includes time food spends in the warehouse, on the truck, and at the agency. And we should, while we're doing all these different activities handling food, we should try our best to avoid the temperature zone between 135 degrees and 41 degrees. If you think about the germs need good temperature, air, food, water, and whatever makes them happy. They need this positive environment. If the temperature is too cold or too hot, they're not happy. They cannot grow. And their favorite temperature is around our body temperature, which is around 98.5, which falls right in the middle of this temperature danger zone of 41 to 135. And this is big time microbial hazard because this is their germ's favorite temperature to survive and grow. In food industry, there are 3 different types of thermometers commonly used to measure temperature. The first group is infrared thermometer, or it's called IR thermometer or IR scanner thermometer. The second group is a needle type digital thermometer, which is also called thermocouple thermometer. And the third type is called bimetallic stem thermometer, which is analog, and the dial or the needle turns on a pad that shows temperature. Here I brought all those 3 different types of thermometers and to show you. And the first one is the infrared scan thermometer that has a trigger switch, and you push the switch, then it shows a laser beam that you know where you're taking your temperature from. And that's the spot that the scanner sends out a signal, and it bounces back from that spot, and they read the signal tweaked by the different temperature on that surface and reads it out on the digital. You can read those numbers on this little screen here. And the second type, needle digital thermometer, this is just exactly like on the picture. This needle thermometer is reading temperature from the very end tip of this needle. A lot of people think it's reading the temperature from the middle of the needle, but that's not the case. It's reading the temperature from the very end of the tip. And signal goes through the metal stem. It's actually temperature is reading from the joint of 2 different wires in here, which is a very small fine wire. It's sending a signal into the machine, and the machine reads the temperature and shows the either Fahrenheit or Celsius numbers on this little screen that you can read it. So the difference between scan thermometer and infrared thermometer and this needle thermometer is that you can poke the food, put this needle inside the food, and you can read internal temperature. That this infrared is just reading the surface temperature, and the signal doesn't penetrate into food, so you cannot use this for internal food temperature. And this bimetallic is called bimetallic. 2 different metals are touching at the tip of this needle, where the temperature is reading from. And different metals have different sensitivity of expansion and shrinkage. Because of those two different degree of shrink and expansion, it's being twisted, and that the twist is reflected into the gauge. There's a spring gauge inside this panel, and the shrink difference between two metals is interpreted as a needle going around a pad, and it shows a temperature reading. And it's a bimetallic stem thermometer. So just a quick review of infrared thermometers. IR scanner type of thermometer is it displays the temperatures instantly, and it prevents cross-contamination. It doesn't touch food, so you don't need to worry about spreading germ from one food to another food, or allergen to non-allergen food. But this needle thermometer, obviously, it's a food contact. So whenever you use this thermometer to poke through food, between the foods, you need to sanitize the needle with alcohol swab to prevent the cross-contamination. But you don't need to worry about that in IR scanner thermometer. And it only measures the surface temperatures, as I mentioned earlier. It doesn't penetrate through the food. So you cannot read the internal temperature. So thumbs up, okay to use this IR thermometer for receiving check. Thumbs up, okay to use this for storage temperature check. But it's not good for cooking, because your food temperature is changing and you're just reading the outside temperature. It's not good for cooking. It's not good for chilling or freezing. So in our facilities, we have different rooms for food product storage, and those rooms are controlled temperature in different temperature ranges. And here are the list of temperature zones and temperature ranges. Dry storage, ambient storage area, we don't have temperature control, so there's no range. But for cold dock, talking about Metro Center, the main warehouse, it's maintained 33 to 45 degrees Fahrenheit. The cooler, refrigerated, not the produce room, but the cooler, should be managed 33 degrees to 40 degrees, which applies to all warehouses. The freezer should be below 0 Fahrenheit. And we started to have a produce room, which is relatively new. We want to keep the temperature between 35 degrees to 50 degrees. This is very, very, very important. I put all the temperature ranges in red color and put 5 yellow stars, gold stars. These temperatures apply to all 3 locations of our warehouses, and it's either walk-in, huge storage area, or small refrigerators, freezers, reach-ins. It's applied to the same temperature requirements that are applied to all of these facilities. So we have these temperature ranges of different rooms defined in Second Harvest product storage policy, and we also have temperature monitoring policy, and also have temperature monitoring procedure. And we do have 3 layers of protection, at least for our main warehouse. The maintenance team member is walking through the building every day in the morning usually, and get the check sheet of the temperature and takes the temperature of the product inside each storage room, and they check every single reach-ins, open all the doors, and check the temperature of the product inside the room. So that's layer number 1, manual temperature recording. And also we have a battery operated data logger that's placed in different locations in different storage rooms. And Ryan pulls out those log tag units and download the data into his computer and print out the chart that I'm going to show you in next slide. So that's the second layer of protection. And the third layer of protection is there's an alarm system. If the temperature of the storage area goes out of the control range, then it rings a bell and also sends an automatic email to maintenance team so that they know the unit is malfunctioning. This is the temperature log for protection layer number 1. Every day in the morning, go through the building and take the temperature of the actual products in storage rooms. And this chart shows the temperature, which was downloaded from data logger, and it shows the temperature history of cold dock in the past month, 30 days period. It's interesting to see some of the temperatures were higher than the desirable temperature zone because when we have a heavy traffic, usually early in the morning, we open and close the door between the cold dock and the dry storage. Instead of keeping opening and closing the door, we keep it open for a certain time, probably 15 minutes or 30 minutes during the heavy traffic time. Then the cold dock temperature is going to increase, and after we shut the door down, the temperature will come back to the normal range. And this is a temperature download for cooler. They're all in the safe zone. And lastly, this is a temperature download from freezer. The same thing happens, what happened in the cold dock. During the heavy traffic time between the freezer and the cold dock, we keep the door open for certain minutes. Then during that heavy traffic hour, the temperature rises and it shows higher temperature than the other hours of operation. When it comes to temperature control delivery truck, there are three important things that we need to keep in mind. First, the machine, reefer unit, or separate temperature recording device should be able to show the accurate temperature of the cargo area. Secondly, the reefer unit should be in a good maintenance program, and when the unit is turned on in the morning, it should not show any error messages, and the machine itself should be able to cool down the product to the target temperature. Thirdly, pre-cooling. It is important to cool down the cargo area before cold food goes into the trailer because it takes 10 minutes, 30 minutes, or sometimes take an hour, more than an hour, to cool down the cargo area during the hot summertime. Lastly, I want to point out all these good measures of reefer unit should go both ways. The good temperature reading and reefer unit is able to cool down the product and pre-cooling program. We have to do it on our end, but all the suppliers that ship the product to us and donors and third-party trucks we use, all temperature controlled delivery vehicles should follow outbound and inbound shipping. And there should be some leeway or a grace period between when you deliver your food from a freezer truck to your customer's storage area. Let's say you're delivering it to a food pantry, then you should open your back door of your truck, and inside the truck is frozen temperature, and there should be a time to unload the product using dollies or hand picking, moving the boxes from back door of your reefer truck to the back door of your customer building, and there should be a gap. And the time gap between frozen to non-frozen, and then frozen within 30 minutes. Same thing for refrigerated truck. If you're delivering milk refrigerated to your customer's door, so the time gap between back of your truck to back door of your customer's building, that's the 30 minutes. So keep drive times in unrefrigerated vehicles to 30 minutes or less. Because the product temperature management goes in both ways, outbound and inbound product, we should do our due diligence, keep the product in the right temperature zone, and incoming product also should be inspected, that if the temperature is not meeting the requirements, food safety requirements, then that product should be rejected. And if you look at the chart here, reject any food that has not been received at these temperatures. So refrigerated food, if it's higher than 41 degrees, it's a reject. Frozen food, it comes in higher than 0 degree Fahrenheit. Cut produce, 41 degrees or lower. Whole produce, it depends on the supplier information. Those products in those categories don't meet the minimum temperature, then we should not accept the product. And our standard for refrigerated food is 40 degrees, not 41, which is greatly appreciated by government agencies and other third-party inspectors, because we have 1 degree more strict requirements of the temperature. So our standard refrigerated is 40. FDA and other third-party companies, they're 41. So we're 1 degree better than their standard. Here's a pop quiz about your temperature knowledge. Identify each item that was not received at the correct temperature. So we're looking for wrong temperature handling, okay? Example A, frozen meat received at 38 degrees Fahrenheit. Frozen should be 0 degrees or below. B, bags of cut lettuce received at 50 degrees. Our produce room in Metro Center warehouse is kept at 50 degrees. But this is the cut lettuce. Cut lettuce this is prepared produce, and prepared produce ready to eat should be kept at 40 degrees or below. So this is wrong. Bags of cut melons, same story. Cut vegetables need to be kept at 40 degrees or below. So 45 degrees is wrong. Milk received at 50 degrees. That's a produce temperature. Milk should be 50 degrees is a whole produce temperature, and milk should be 40 degrees or below. So I believe all of these four are wrong, okay? Another pop quiz. Has the food been stored correctly? This product is cultured sour cream kept at 45 degrees, and that is not good, because the temperature of the dairy products such as milk, cheese, yogurt, sour cream needs to be FDA 41 degrees and Second Harvest Food Bank 40 degrees or lower. And this is one of the chain restaurants. They have a refrigerator walk-in. Their temperature requirement is 35 to 38 degrees. Is that right or wrong? FDA requirement of the refrigerator walk-in should be 40 degrees or below, 41 degrees or below, and their standard is 38 or below, which is 3 degrees more stricter than the FDA requirement. And our requirement, once again, is 40 degrees, which is 1 degree more strict than FDA. Another pop quiz. Storage temperature of this showcase is at -1 degree Fahrenheit. Has the food been stored correctly? Is frozen meat kept at -1 degree? Yes, the answer is yes. It's the correct temperature. It should be below 0 degrees Fahrenheit. Has the food been stored correctly? This is the inside cargo area on the reefer truck, and the answer is no, because the food is leaning against the wall. Leaning against the wall means there is no gap between the wall and those carton cases. The air cannot go through. So if this is a refrigerated truck or a frozen reefer truck, then the cold air should blow between the wall and the food boxes. Once again, in temperature-controlled cargo, the cold air should be passing through on top of the boxes, left side of the boxes, and the right side of the boxes, and importantly, through the bottom of the boxes. So all the boxes should be sitting on the pallets in order to keep the product temperature to the right range. So for incoming product inspection, these are the items that you should be looking for. Number one, overall condition of the vehicle, spaces between wall and the products, pest control, pest issues, and any indication of the pests, leaks and damages, and the correct temperature. So if any of these items are not being met, not being satisfied, then you have to make a decision whether you're going to accept the product or not accept the product. We're talking about inspection of the incoming product, and when we see the bug activities in the product, we should reject the load. If you see pest activities in the cargo area, see any droppings or nests, we need to reject the product. But think about why we reject the product with pest activities. it looks gross. We don't want to have pests in our warehouse. That's true. Secondly, inspectors would not appreciate it. Tennessee Department of Agriculture or AIV inspector, when they come to your warehouse, they don't want to see these pest activities. That's good, but there's another reason why we don't want to have the pests coming into our warehouse, because the pests and rodents carry pathogens, and they spread these pathogens in your warehouse and possibly into the food. So yes, there is a growth factor and inspection requirements, but you have to think about food safety itself. The pests and rodents, they spread the germs. Once again, here are the list of items that you want to check before you start unloading cargo from delivery truck. Reject the food delivery if the delivery vehicle or delivery containers do not meet acceptable standards, contain pests, and containers are excessively dirty, and if they are out of control of temperature. Because we have discussed the pest control issue on the cargo delivered to your warehouse, I just want to throw in some slides here to show pictures of pest control program. It's not a good idea to have an open garbage dumpster that has spoiled food inside with the open dumpster, because germs will grow, pests will infestate in this garbage dumpster, and it will attract other bugs, flying bugs, into your parking lot. So it's just not a good thing. So in terms of garbage dumpster, it's nice to have a clean, almost brand new garbage dumpster, but with the garbage dumpster door open, it's not doing a very good work in terms of keeping pests, the bugs, out of your warehouse. The garbage dumpster needs to be covered. It should be clean and it should be covered. Which are the signs of pests? The first one is the dropping, second one is the nest, third one is scratching mark. All of these three are the indications of pest activity: the droppings, nests, and scratching, chewing marks. Very, very important. What is wrong with this picture? The banana box is sitting on the floor. Yeah, the problem is the food container and food box or any kind of packaging food should not be sitting on the floor. It should be elevated from the floor, at least 6 inches or 15 centimeters off the floor. And this is the measure for pest control, trying to minimize the chance that pests will jump onto our food boxes. Topic number 7, chemical contaminations. We're almost there. There are only 8 topics, so we're on topic number 7. When you organize the delivery to your customer and you put the food boxes on the right and the chemical box on the left, you should pay extra attention to the chemical product. Make sure the box is intact and it's not leaking anything. Try not to store chemicals with food with direct contact, because it is a potential risk of cross-contamination, and it is one of the 3 main hazards: biological, physical, and chemical contamination hazard. This is the chemical contamination hazard example number 1. And we have over 100 chemicals in the warehouse building, talking about Metro Center. All chemicals need to be listed, and there should be approvable signature from food safety officer or deputy food safety officer. And every single chemical we have in the building, we should have a matching MSDS, material safety data sheet. And because we have large number of chemicals, the MSDS binders are growing every year. And we should not have toxic to human chemicals such as pesticides. Pesticides are not allowed in the building. The third-party pest control company, they bring in the chemicals they need to use in the building, but they always take it out of the building after they finish their job inside the building. All the chemicals in the building not only need to be registered in a list, and also matching MSDS should be found inside the building. And MSDS sheets are filed in binders, and they are placed in the warehouse. This picture shows the location of MSDS binders inside the warehouse of main distribution center. And for the contractors, chemicals matching MSDS sheets are in their binders, and the binders are located in the mailroom. And Cookchill has their own MSDS binder located inside the manufacturing room. And this is an example of matching MSDS sheets. On the yellow binder on the right side, you see WD-40 logo in the product. And this is the MSDS sheet of WD-40 we have in the building. It's commonly used in maintenance team and transportation team. The last topic, topic A, receiving sorting procedure. This involves evaluating the condition of the food and food packaging. And so I'm going to go through some of the pictures that we use for previous training. And some of these pictures are put together by a volunteer engagement team. The question here is, which of these cans should be discarded? Well, both of them should be discarded. Severe dents and crushed cans, they're not allowed. Which of these cans should be discarded? The same question. And the left one, this can doesn't have a label on the product. The right one has a clearly readable label outside of the packaging. So the answer is A, the product without the label should be discarded. Okay, next question. Which of these cans should be discarded? The one on the left and one on the right. Both of them don't look right. And the left one has bulging or swollen ends of the can. And the right one has a heavy buildup of a rust. So both of these products are going to be discarded. Another question on canned products. Should this product be discarded? And if you take a good look at the product, there is a hole in the middle of the can, and because of the hole, there is a leakage of liquid portion of the product. So whenever you see holes and visible signs of leaking, damaged products, it should be discarded. Question on produce. What's wrong with this produce? The strawberries have mold in it. So whenever we see this type of damages to the food, discard produce with these problems: mold, decay, rotting, or bad odors. Inspecting food during receiving to make sure it is safe. What should you look for when inspecting a delivery vehicle before unloading it? One of the examples here is presence of objectionable products, such as homemade product with no label. No label product is not acceptable, so we should reject it. Inspecting food during receiving to make sure it is safe. What should you look for when inspecting a delivery vehicle before unloading it? The door locks, if there are locks behind the cargo door, the seals that are in place and functioning, you need to make sure the lock is not broken. Here's a pop quiz. Identify each situation that may be unsafe. So we're looking for unsafe, unacceptable, bad situation. A, the door lock on a food delivery truck is broken. That's unsafe. Mice are spotted inside the food delivery truck. That's not good. C, a delivery truck is transporting food at 38 degrees. I don't see anything wrong with that. A case of home canned jelly is found inside a delivery truck. That's not good. I guess A, B, and D, they're unsafe. Okay, now we're up to the quiz. This quiz is open book, so you can use this lecture slides and also the PDF, the textbook that we provide, which is a matching set of all the slides that I used during the lecture. You can use that, and please pay attention to the red color information like I mentioned earlier. They are going to show in the quiz. I hope you get a good score, and thanks for listening to this lecture. And if you have any questions related to food safety, please call me or email me, NK, Food Safety Officer. Thank you so much for attending.